Gird it up, swashbucklers. You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 16. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for the nice iTunes reviews and passing the word along to your friends and fellow pirate fans. I appreciate that a lot. All that helps me keep this pirate ship afloat, because if it weren't for you listening, then I would be just sitting here talking to myself in a random hotel room in Chicago. And that's not the way most podcasts should go, I think. You know, today on the show, I have got an amazing guest. Like, this was one of my goal guests for when I started this show. It's Chris Macort from the Whydah Project, and we're going to talk about him for a second. First of all, thank you, Rochester, Minnesota, to everybody that came out to Goonies Comedy Club over the weekend. Fantastic shows all the way around. Super fun. I had a great time working with Mike Brody, who you're going to hear some on the show later on today. And just great shows. Like, everybody was cool. The only problem with Rochester, Minnesota is that it's not a good eating town. The thing I do when I go to any town is I find the best cheap places to eat. That's my thing, right? Like, I like to have a good go-to cheap place to eat. In Rochester, not so much. There was not a lot around there. So you guys work on that in Rochester. But now, today, this week, I'm in Chicago. And Chicago is an eating town, and I'm gonna hit Portillo's. I'm gonna hit Gina Juice. I just got back from Jay's Beef. Jay's Beef, thank you. That was a wonderful beef sandwich with nice spicy hot peppers on it. Very well done on Jay's Beef. That was so good. And I like Chicago. I have yet to figure out Chicago. I've been here 4 or 5 times now. And I think there's more to this city than I'm really seeing. And I've done the museums, and I've done a lot of the touristy stuff, but I don't quite have the feel for the city yet. But as I get to know more of the comics here, I think I will. And I'm going to go check out, I'm going to go visit Blues Heaven, Willie Dixon's Blues Heaven, which is a foundation, and he owns the old Chess Records building. So hallowed halls for the blues enthusiast, of which I am. I know I'm a suburban white kid, but I've spent a lot of years playing the blues in my guitar studies. So I got to go pay some respects. I'm going to go visit Muddy Waters' house, which is not a museum. It's not anything. It's a rundown house, which is pretty sad. But they haven't figured out what to do with it yet. And I guess there's infighting with the relatives and things like that. But I got to go pay some respects to Muddy Waters. So I'm probably going to go visit his house. But doing a lot of driving. Excuse me. I had a little burpee there from Jay's Beef. Thank you, Jay's Beef, for the burpees. Been doing a lot of drive and drive. It was a 6-hour drive from Rochester here, and I like at the beginning of the tour like this. I like doing the driving. I like that sort of exhausted feel you get after 6-8 hours in the car. Even better if I have to do a show right when I get there, which I've done. I've done, a 10 or 12-hour drive, and you get out of the car, you check in the hotel, you turn around, do sound check, and then get on stage for an hour. And I kind of dig that exhausted energy at the beginning of a tour. Ask me again next week how I feel about that when I'm on my way home. And I may have a different story about it. But, it's always good because I've got that podcast that I listen to when I'm driving, probably like you do. I listen to Mark Maron. I listen to The Dork Forest. If you haven't listened to The Dork Forest yet and you like this show, you will love The Dork Forest. Go check that out. I like me some Freakonomics. I listen to Mousetalgia and the Mice Chat, the Disney podcast, things like that. So anyway, lots of driving yesterday, and I got through. I can always tell when I haven't been on the road enough because my podcast pile starts to pile up. Like, I had 70 podcast episodes to listen to, and I'm cranking my way through them on the drive here. But so what am I doing in Chicago? What am I doing here? Gigs, yeah. So like this Wednesday through Friday, that is the 18th through the 20th, I'm going to be at Zany's Comedy Club in Rosemont. Really looking forward to that. That's a fantastic club. Tonight, I think I'm going to pop in. I got a night off, but I'm going to pop in at the Abram Gale Lounge in Chicago and do a short set there. And then Saturday, the 21st, I will be in Muskegon, Michigan at the Sherman Bowling Center. Yeah. Because when I headline, that's the kind of places that I get to headline. You go where the people and the money is. Grammar's not my strong point, but so Saturday the 22nd, the 21st, I'll be at the Sherman Bowling Center in Muskegon doing a full hour headlining show there, and then Sunday the 22nd, I will be at the Riverfront Hotel in Grand Rapids, Michigan for a short set. That's a great one too. Saturday, November the 28th, I will be back in the Bay Area headlining at the Englander in San Leandro. So that's the show lineup here. And lots of good. So, like I said, here's on the show today, Chris Macort from the Whydah Project. Now, if you don't know, the Whydah was a pirate ship, Sam Bellamy's pirate ship, that sunk off the coast of Cape Cod in 1717 in a really, really nasty storm. And it was discovered, I think, in the mid-'80s, if I remember right. We're going to talk about that during the interview. And Chris Macort came on the project in the early 90s, and he is a wreck diver. He is the curator for the museum there in near the wreck site, and just a really, really interesting dude. And like I said, he was one of the goal guests that I wanted to get on the show when I started it. So there's one met there. And I have more coming up, actually. So you stay tuned, man. Stay subscribed because I got some killer guests coming up. But yeah, Chris is a super interesting guy. We get into what it felt like for him to actually hold pirate treasure in his hand for the first time. He has got some mind-blowing news for all of us. Stuff that I was like, wow, you're kidding, right? Seriously? You're doing that? So make sure that's about halfway through the interview. You're going to get some seriously mind-blowing news. Really, really, really cool stuff. And so we're getting deep in the pirate archaeology stuff today, and I think you're really going to dig this interview. And of course, we got some comedy. We got some music. You're going to hear some comedy from Mike Brody, who I was working with at Goonies over the weekend, and we're going to have a song from Rome Bauer, a buddy of mine from San Francisco, who is very, very talented. You're going to absolutely dig him. So, did I cover everything? I think I covered everything. Yeah. So, I'm going to stop talking now. This is the part where I stop talking, and we are going to get into this interview with Chris Macort from the Whydah Project. Here you go. Yeah, let's jump in. So, the first thing I need to know is, what is the correct pronunciation of the ship's name?
Whydah.
Whydah. Oh, okay. That wasn't even on my radar.
Okay.
Whydah. Okay, because I've spoken with other people about this project and things, and I've heard Whydah and Whydah, but I've heard Whydah and Whydah, but it's Whydah with okay.
Whydah. Yep. Whydah. Whydah.
Okay. Now I know that is settled. Now I can correct everybody else who's getting it wrong.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. I do it all the time.
So now that we know that, tell me a little bit about what you do on the project.
Well, I've been with the project for 18 years, and I started out just sort of like a painter for Barry, and now I'm the museum director. I'm also a project historian for quite a few of our projects, and I'm a underwater field archaeologist for the project.
That's fantastic. Now, for the people who are listening who really have no idea what we're talking about so far, give us the short dime store tour of the Whydah Project.
Okay, well, the Whydah was a slave ship that was captured by pirates back in 1716. It was captured near the Bahamas, Jamaica area in the Caribbean. And it made its way north to Cape Cod, where the captain of the pirate ship, Black Sam Bellamy, was on his way back to supposedly pick up his then girlfriend, Goody Hallett, who lived on Cape Cod, and the Whydah was loaded with 4.5 tons of treasure from 54 previous ships that he had captured. And in a bad storm, the ship hit a sandbar right close to the beach on Cape Cod, and it wrecked. And the next day, it turned over. All the cannons, all the treasure, everything emptied out through the decks and into the sand, and it's been hidden there until Barry Clifford discovered it in 1984.
Okay, and then so you were part of the team that went down and brought it back, or brought pieces of it back up.
Yeah, like I said, the ship was discovered in '84, and the bell was discovered in 1985, which was very important to find the bell. It said the Whydah Gally, 1716, and that was the proof that Barry Clifford needed. Just to sort of quell any of the naysayers. So I joined the team in 1997, and every summer we're out there pulling up artifacts out of the sand.
That's fantastic. And were you a pirate guy to begin with, or was this like a project that you kind of fell into and went, ooh, this is cool?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because my family's from Cape Cod. I mean, I can almost see where the Whydah wrecked as a boy growing up, and so I always had those tales of pirates and treasure, running through my head. I spent a lot of time in Florida. I got certified at 12 years old to scuba dive, and I just kept the interest up with it. And then, I've met Barry Clifford over the years, and then in 1997, things just gelled, and I joined his team. And I'd already had a lot of information about the Whydah and other pirates, especially Captain Kidd. He's one of my favorite guys. I wouldn't consider him a pirate, but he's sort of woven in the Whydah tale as well.
Sure, yeah. How does he work into the story?
Well, the thing with Captain Kidd is that there was this rumor in my family and on Cape Cod that Captain Kidd in 1699 had brought and had dumped treasure in this place called Pleasant Bay, which is where I live and where my family's lived, on this little island. So ever since I could row a boat, I would row out to this little island as a kid and just, hang around there and dig around. And then as I got older, I was able to rent a metal detector. I think I was about 13. And that's how I really got involved in pirates and the idea of finding lost treasures, if you will, from the past. And now I do it for a living, which is kind of funny.
That's so great. So yeah, you're deep into it for a long time. That's very cool. So when you met Barry Clifford, how did he bring you into the project? What were you doing at the beginning?
Yeah, I was in a rock band for years in New York City, and I had just given it up. And I moved back home to Cape Cod, and I was working at a boatyard, a family kind of run boatyard. And this guy came down to the yard, and he said, "Does anybody here know how to paint boats and scuba dive?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he said, and I said, "What's this for?" And he said, "This is for a project in Provincetown called the Whydah." And it was, well, actually, the guy came and talked to one of the guys at the boatyard, and he told him that I need a boat guy, a diver, and someone that might know a little bit about the Whydah. And he brought me. He's like, "I know the exact person." And so he brought him over to me, and I talked to the guy. And the next day was my birthday, and I went up. I think it was my 29th or 30th birthday, and I met Barry, and he hired me on the spot. And it was funny because he said, "What do you want out of life?" And I had just gotten out of this whole music, rock and roll thing. And I looked at him and I said, "I want adventure. If you can give me adventure, I'm your guy." And he said, "You got it. I'll give you plenty of adventure."
I think that's what all of us musicians are looking for, is just a little bit of adventure, or a lot of adventure.
Exactly. Yeah.
What was your instrument? What did you play?
I played the guitar.
Oh, fantastic! We are kindred spirits, my friend. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's my instrument too. I work as a musician and comedian, and guitar's my main instrument. So I know all about the search for adventure, because I think that's what any performer is out for. You just found it in a strangely different way, which I think is really cool.
I did. Yeah, I did, definitely. Yep.
So then so you guys discovered this. It was 1985, I think you said, when they found the bell, right?
That's correct.
And you come in 97. Where are they at that point with the excavation, for lack of a better term?
Oh, yeah, sure. No, when I joined in 97, things had been a little quiet. Previous to that, Barry had been doing some other projects in Scotland, Panama, New York City, looking for other shipwrecks. But 1997 was a big year because we were doing a television show for National Geographic, and so he wanted to bring in a bunch of people, a bunch of the older crew that were involved in the 80s, and he wanted the research boat, the Vast Explorer, up to speed, up to par. Mm-hmm. So my first job, to be honest with you, was just to paint the damn boat and to clean up all the bird crap and everything that had been, the boat had been on the mooring for a while. So, and it was funny. My very first day at work, Barry said, "Hey, listen, I want to introduce you to my archaeologist." And I thought, "Oh, that's terrific. I'd love to meet an archaeologist." And he said, "You're going to love her." Uh-huh. And I was like, "Oh no, what's this all about?" And he said, and I was like, "Well, let me work on this boat for a little while, Barry. This thing's a mess." He goes, No, I got it. You got to meet my archaeologist. She's from Scotland. She's tall. She's blonde. You're going to love her." And he said, I guarantee you, I'm going to introduce you to your future wife."
Oh wow, that's
what he said.
Bold claim.
And yeah, 2 weeks later we were living together, and I think 3 years later we were married.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you can't beat the Scottish accent. It's so awesome. Yeah.
I know. We're divorced. Of course, we're divorced now, mostly because of my job. But we're very, very close. We're very good friends. She understands that I have to be out of the country a lot, and to be honest with you, to do a job like this, at this point, there's a lot of different things that we all do. There's a lot of different things that I do. Everybody involved. So it can be a pretty selfish occupation, unfortunately, and there's just always stuff to do. There's always right now I'm at our conservation lab. This morning I was up at our museum, and it's just you just can't really relax or put down the tools for too long.
Yeah, much like being in a rock band. I understand that sentiment completely.
Yeah, exactly.
So when did you first get to dive down to the wreck?
Actually, on the very first trip, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd proven myself to be a good diver, a good swimmer, and I was allowed to dive. And I don't believe my first dive I found anything, but I think shortly after that, I brought up a few silver pieces of 8, and I was ecstatic. I was really excited. So I remember that being my very first artifact that I discovered on the Whydah was a handful of silver 8 reals.
That must have been very, I can't think of the word, very satisfying after traipsing around beaches with metal detectors as a kid.
Yeah, and I'd always found interesting stuff with my metal detectors, but never anything that I could put my heart to. That I could hold these coins and put them against my heart and say, this is the real deal. There is nobody else in the world that is finding pirate treasure.
Right.
It doesn't exist. That there's nobody out there that can find a chest of coins, on an island or in the ocean and say, this is definitely pirate booty. This is pirate treasure. It doesn't exist yet. It hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And so for that, it was really interesting. I mean, to hold it in your hand and to see, well, this is the real deal. I never knew what it felt like to discover something like that, or to hold it in my hand when there's nobody else around, when I'm underwater by myself. It was a really, really intense feeling.
Yeah, I'm sure that's amazing. And as they were bringing stuff up, was it always a plan to do a museum and exhibits and things like that, or did they just not know what they were going to do with it yet?
Yeah, I think when Barry first discovered it, I think it overwhelmed him that the amount of artifacts on board the ship, whether it's cannons, cannonballs, pistols, coins, gold. I mean, everything just started to add up, and leather shoes, socks, bone. I think the whole thing just sort of came to life in front of him, and I think he had in mind maybe selling some of the artifacts at first, or the treasure at first, and then he really kind of got bitten by this bug of, these are people, this stuff should be seen. I want to open up a museum, and that's what I'm going to do. That's how we're going to provide money for the company after investors and everything else. Barry just wanted to do it by himself, not sell anything, and have everything conserved and displayed. And to this date, he has never sold a single artifact ever.
That's great. I haven't had a chance to visit the museum yet, but I'm trying to book some gigs anywhere near you guys so I can have a reason. Yeah, and I know there's a traveling exhibit, isn't there? It's in Idaho Falls right now.
Yes, that's right. Yep, there's actually 2 of them. One of them is sort of pausing but they're waiting for another venue to clear to open up, and then there's another one that I believe is in just the place where you mentioned. And then we have our museum on Cape Cod, which is sort of our base of operations. It's a sampling of everything that we have, but we close October 31st.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, so I hope the traveling exhibits will come to more places, mostly because I'm not super fond of Idaho Falls.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I know. Actually, I travel to all the different cities where the exhibits travel to, and I do press and stuff. And I would never go to a lot of these places.
Yeah.
Like some place in Texas and other places. I mean, like Chicago and Philadelphia and stuff like that. Absolutely, San Diego, Phoenix. But there were some of these other smaller cities, Midwest, that I would never go. And I'm glad I did, because the people are fantastic. And then you're dealing with a subject matter that I think most people at least have a little bit of interest. I think it goes from interest to fascination to, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think, and I like small towns. I play a lot of small towns and things like that. Idaho Falls has a particularly difficult comedy venue that's the only reason I'm not fond of that town.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, I've had some strange adventures on stage in that town. But
really?
yeah, that's really fascinating. I can't wait to see the museum. Do you have any favorite pieces in the collection outside of those initial couple of coins you found?
Yeah, my favorite pieces are the ones that have been marked by the pirates or by any previous sailor that owned them. We have a lot of pewter plates that have initials in them, that have some of the earliest Freemasonry marks on them, that have flags carved on them, or just an initial. But a lot of the graffiti that we find on some of these objects are leading us back to the Freemasons. And this predates a lot of what a lot of people believe Freemasonry actually started. So we're dealing with pre-1717. So we learn a lot by even looking back at an artifact that was brought up in 1984. We just continue to learn ourselves about what this design might have meant for this person. Or we have a Jacob's ladder carved into one of the spoon bowls. And then we have an hourglass carved into another spoon. So they're personalized, and those are my favorite objects.
That's really interesting. Does any of that information lead to like other possible discoveries and things like that? As far as like other ships, and I know there's been very few ships found, let alone authenticated, but does any of that information kind of lead in that direction?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working in Madagascar at the moment. We just had a 6-episode show air on the History Channel called Pirate Treasure of the Knights Templar. And there's a lot. We're dealing with late 17th, early 18th century shipwrecks, pirate ships that all sank in this one little harbor on an island called Sainte Marie off of Madagascar. It was a pirate central for the Indian Ocean there, and Kidd was there, and Robert Culliford and Dirk Shivers, all these incredible true life guys that were ruthless pirates, except for Kidd, of course.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're finding objects that are the same on the Whydah as we're finding in Madagascar. And for example, one of them would be a lead gaming token with a cross carved in it. We have many of them from the Whydah, and then we found one on another pirate shipwreck in Madagascar. So that was a really neat thing to see, and to know that they were playing the same games halfway around the world.
Yeah, that's interesting. How, that's a potential, stupid phrase, but that's a potential treasure trove of pirate ships in an area like that.
Yeah. No, we've been able to identify the Adventure Galley, the Fiery Dragon. We know that there's a couple of more. There's 2 more in the harbor that we've discovered. We haven't been able to figure out which one is which yet. And then let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's at least 6 that we know that we've put our hands on, and we're fairly sure what the names are. And then there's, I think, 2 more that we're not sure what they are yet. So we've been able to identify 6 of them essentially. That's pirate ships. Yeah,
that's amazing, because up until this point, it's been basically the Whydah, a questionable Queen Anne's Revenge a few times, and then the Golden Fleece. Pretty much, is that it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So had nobody ever? I can't imagine nobody had ever searched this place in Madagascar before.
Well, the thing is it's so remote. It's so far removed from Europe or from America, and I've always read about Isle Sainte Marie. It's essentially Treasure Island, but the real deal. And people had imagined this place and had heard about it, but very few people had ever been there. And of course, there was people that had swam. The shipwrecks are only in 20 feet of water. In the harbor, the visibility is very poor, so you'd have to really get down there. And some people said, "Oh yeah, we know there's a wreck here or a wreck there," but they had no idea what they were. And thankfully, nobody had ever rummaged through them or I know, you can go to a few of the local, palm tree shack, bars that they have, no electricity and all the rest, but it's a gorgeous place. And you'll see, an early 17th century ceramic on the bar, or stories of somebody finding gold here or gold there. But for the most part, they've been untouched, which is fantastic for a group like us who goes in with the History Channel or Discovery Channel with archaeologists. And the last time we were there, we just got back about 6 months ago. We were there for 10 weeks, and we set up a conservation lab there for the artifacts that we brought up, and we're introducing this to the local people, and they're into it. They love it. They can't believe that the stuff that we bring up. Because they've been fishing over these areas for hundreds and hundreds of years,
right? And
they're just they're like, oh my gosh, look at that.
Now they're realizing they were fishing for the wrong stuff.
Yeah, right.
So tell me about the conservation process a little bit. What's involved with, say, taking a piece of dishware or something up from the bottom of the ocean or from 20 feet below or wherever it is, and how do you what's the conservation process like for making that safe to bring up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love that. Any object that comes up, whether it's buried in 20 feet of sand, which is usually the conditions for the Whydah artifacts, everything's buried in sand, so it gets no sunlight, gets no oxygen. Other artifacts aren't, they're sort of closer to the surface. Depending on what the artifact is made out of, like you mentioned galley-ware, so that generally most of the galley-ware would be made out of pewter, which is lead and tin. So pewter's fairly, as long as it doesn't get what's called pewter disease, when it just starts to bubble and blister, it's fairly easy to work with. Generally, it goes right into fresh water, and as anything that you bring up out of a salt water or fresh water should immediately go into fresh water to rinse constantly. The idea being is to get the salt out of the object, get the pH level proper. A lot of the iron, brass, bronze, and some pewter as well goes through an electrolysis process, which is a light electric charge, which essentially removes any debris that might be on there, as well as it strengthens the object as well. So you keep it wet, and then you decide whether it's going to go into electrolysis, or like if it's lead, it just really needs to be cleaned, washed, get the salt off of it. Just over and over and over again with the washing. There are tests that you can do. And then it's a matter of you can paint it with the proper paint, not with like Rust-Oleum or something. You've got to use proper stuff. You can use tannic acid. You can leave it alone. You can polish it. You can cover it with wax. There's a lot of different methods. Wood is very difficult to deal with because when it dries out, obviously it can collapse. It'll expand. It can do all sorts of different things. So we use polyethylene glycol with wood. You can use freeze dryers. But it's, our laboratory here, we have about 100 different ways of treating different objects. So gold obviously is the same thing as lead. You just want to rinse it off, make sure it's nice and clean, and boom, there you go. Right. Silver is going to come with a tarnished. The patina is going to be really dark. So I usually run the silver coins for about 73 hours in an electrolysis bath. So that's about 3 days. And then essentially clean whatever's going to come off naturally. And we use like a really soft brush with baking soda, just really light. And then whatever the patina is, whatever its natural patina is, we generally leave it as is. We don't polish the things up or anything like that.
Yeah, that's good. It's more authentic that way.
Well, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What is there a type of object that you find considerably difficult to conserve?
Well, yeah, cloth, silk. That's beyond me. So there's somebody else that does the conservation with us. That's has a lot more experience than I do. So I always refer to them with the more difficult things. Wood, like I said, wood is tricky. We've got a lot of wood. We've got the part of the rudder from the ship. We've got barrels. wooden barrels. And of course, the pistols are all made from wood. We've got wooden handles for daggers, knives, swords, tools. The list goes on and on. Parts of the ship. So wood is something that we have conserved in small doses, but we're getting ready to do the bigger objects now. Like I said, the section of the rudder, some of these barrels, those wooden barrels. So it's a process to do wood and iron. The iron is fairly easy. Like the cannons, we have over 50 cannons, and they take a while in electrolysis. There's some new ways of doing that we're looking into as well, but we're still running cannons through electrolysis for about a year.
Wow.
And then we unload them. All the cannons that we find on the Whydah are loaded.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, whether they're mounted, on the ship, or whether they were stored down below in the hold, and we can tell because they're all stuck together if they were in the hold. The separate ones were probably on deck, mounted. So every cannon that we find has got the tompion in it, the wooden plug, and that comes out. Then we go in with a special tool, pull out the wadding, the hemp wadding, and then the object, whether it's a cannonball, a bag of lead shot, or bar shot, that comes out. Then there's another chunk of hemp wadding that comes out, and then we bring out the bag of gunpowder.
Why? I mean, since he was in the middle of a storm, a huge storm, when he sank, why do you think all the guns were loaded?
They were always loaded.
Oh, they were always loaded.
I think if you're going to have and I think that's something that we'd, kind of discovered ourselves because of having these things, right here that we deal with. I mean, even the rusted iron gun barrels, we're talking about, muskets or pistols, the iron barrels, most of them have lead shot in them and wadding. And the wadding is usually paper. Some of them have 2 balls in them. I mean, these guys were, I think part of, if you were going to bring a weapon on board, it better be sharp and it better be loaded.
That's amazing. That also seems dangerous.
Yeah, no kidding. No wonder they were always blowing up,
Yeah, to be sailing with a hold full of loaded cannons, that's amazing. I mean, one stray spark and the whole thing would go up. Yep. That's amazing. And
then we also have a great collection of hand grenades.
Wow.
Which were hollow cannonballs with a hole in one end, and you'd put carve a wooden plug, and then you'd put a wick in it, and the cannonball would be filled with gunpowder. You'd light the wick, and then you'd throw it at an enemy ship or, on the deck of a ship or wherever you wanted to throw it, and you hope that it wouldn't come back at you lit.
That's amazing.
There's a great story of these pirates that had captured the ship off of New Jersey, and everybody on the ship. On the merchant ship went down below. They locked themselves, below deck. So these pirates were wandering around on the deck trying to get inside. And one of the guys pried open the deck board and threw a couple of hand grenades down below. And what he didn't realize was he'd thrown them right into the powder room, and blew up both ships.
Wow, good job. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
so the stolen goods on the Whydah, do you know? I know it was from 50 different ships, so he had really done his job. Do you know what countries a lot of the stuff is from?
Yeah, we do, and we do because thankfully, we can tell from the artifacts. We've got over 50 cannon, and we've traced the cannons back to Spain, France, Europe, we're sort of borderline Germany-ish, that area, that part of the country. England, obviously. Let me see, what am I forgetting? Oh, Dutch. We've got some Dutch cannons. So that's one way of knowing where these different ships had come from because of the armaments that they had. Also, some of our weapons, we can tell, okay, this was a Scottish pistol. This was made in England. This was made in France. This is Spanish. And a lot of these things have maker's marks on them. They have John Brooks, gun founder, or the pewter plates. If you turn them over, there's going to be a rose and crown with where the pewter plates were made. And then the cannons, a lot of them will have marks on the trunnions, on the protruding pieces on each cannon where the cannon would lay in the carriage. So there'll be an A or an L or an R, and then if you trace that back, I mean, we've got catalogs now. You can do it online. You can find out where these cannons were founded, and then we have an idea of, which different countries were attacked by Black Sam Bellamy.
And has there been any issues with countries wanting their stuff back after 300 years?
No, but occasionally we'll have somebody come into our museum and say, "Hey, I was related to this person, or I was related to that person," and that kind of thing. And we usually let them in for free, but that's about it.
Oh, good.
We're not in the business. We're not in the business of handing out artifacts. I mean, we keep everything together. And but I think as one of the things that I do and that I enjoy the most is giving talks and talking to people, even if it's just in our museum. And I love to tell a story about the Whydah and Black Sam Bellamy, and but also people love to hear about the diving aspect and everything else. And then if they're really involved, it's really great to put a piece of 8 in their hand and say, you're holding real pirate treasure there. It's great because it gives them a feeling of wow, I just did something that nobody else has done. Nobody else that I know has ever held real pirate treasure.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Oh boy, I got to come visit. That sounds
it's
so
an
much
aspect
fun.
of the job it's an aspect of my job that I probably like the most.
That's great.
It's just,
and that's why I got you on the show, because you like doing that.
Yeah, I do. I love it. I really do. Like I said, I travel from whenever our traveling exhibit goes. I usually go with it, and I have to sort of not train. It sounds like a bad word, but the people that are going to be at the museum, running the museum, you give them the information and get them fired up about it, so that when people, when patrons come and ask them questions, they'll know they'll have the right answer and they'll be enthusiastic and. It generally works. I think enthusiasm is contagious if it's done, genuinely done.
Yeah, I think so. That's definitely true. So, where, short of visiting your museum, where are the good places, say online or anywhere else, where people can go learn more about this project? Maybe see pictures of some of the stuff.
Yeah, we have a website. It's whydah.com. It's WHYDAH.com, or just type in pirate ship Whydah in a Google search, and there's lots and lots of stuff that's going to come up. There'll be stories of what we're doing in Madagascar, in Haiti. We're doing projects, with Christopher Columbus's ship, the Santa Maria, as well as the Oxford in Haiti. And then in Madagascar, of course, all the ships that we're working on there. We hope to get back there soon. Continue filming with History Channel. And bringing up these incredible artifacts. The things that we're bringing up in Madagascar are a lot of Chinese export porcelain from the late 1600s, essentially 1666 to 1722, which is a Kanchi period, and also all types of different religious artifacts from all over a lot of Christian artifacts that were made in Goa, in India, and then we have artifacts from the Red Sea, from Jerusalem, from what would have been Constantinople, that whole area of the world. So it's a whole plethora, it's a whole hodgepodge of these artifacts, and all together on one ship. So it sounds like you're going to have to expand the museum. It's going to need to be bigger. Well, we hope. Yeah, we're in the process of building a museum over there on St. Marie Island so that people can go there and see it. Obviously, it's not a very well-traveled place, but there are a lot of people that live there and that go there, and we feel like it's important for them to see a little bit of their heritage and their culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chris, this has been a fascinating conversation. I've really had so much fun. Is there anything I missed, anything I didn't ask that you would like to answer anyway?
Not really, except this has been great for me too. Like I said, I love doing it, and I hope I've answered your questions. We're like I said, our museum on Cape Cod is open until October 31st, and then we'll be open again probably next May. It's in Provincetown. It's at the end. It's on a wharf called McMillan Wharf, and it's a really good place to go to see a collection of what we have. There's just about everything there. From our extensive, we have about 200,000 separate artifacts, so we can't display them all in one place. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I will link to the Whydah.com website on the show notes, of course, and any other information I can dole out there. Chris, this has been fun. I really appreciate your time coming on the show, man.
Oh, anytime, Phil. It's been awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet. I'll talk to you soon.
Terrific. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There it is, friends. That was my interview with Chris Macort from the Whydah Pirate Museum. How awesome was that? How all those ships, they're finding all those ships. I couldn't even believe it. I got to go find that, the National Geographic special now. But that was a fantastic interview. I hope I get to talk to Chris again sometime because the guy is passionate about his pirate history, and I think that's really very cool. Make sure that you're subscribed. Like I said, I've got more killer guests coming up. Just super interesting people. You're not even going to believe it. Make sure that you're subscribed to get all that stuff. If you would like to help support the show, I would appreciate that support because I spend a lot of hours during the week putting these episodes together for you. And if you want to, go to underthecrossbones.com/support. And there's 3 options there. 3 very, very simple options. The first one is just a cash donation through PayPal. Anything you want. You could give me pennies, I guess, if you were like that. I mean, it's like kind of like leaving a bad tip, but if you wanted to do that, but you can put in there any amount that you want to. You don't even have to have a PayPal account to do it because you can do it with your credit card through there. The second option is an Amazon banner, and you may have heard this on other podcasts, but all you have to do, click that little Amazon banner, and Amazon gives me a little kickback on whatever you buy. And it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's just what they call an affiliate program. And so if you buy like a package of socks or underwear, then I will make a few pennies off of that. Or if you were to buy, say, a car or a large piece of farming equipment, then I would make a larger commission. That's a percentage-based thing. So all you have to do, just click that banner, click the Amazon banner, buy something, and that's all you got to do. It doesn't cost you anything extra except what you were going to buy anyway. And the last option is becoming a sponsor of the show. And right now, those sponsorships are stupid cheap. Because it's still a small show here. And if you want to get in and get some sponsorship time, some exposure for your business or service or whatever have you, I would welcome that. I'd be happy to do that. And they're very, very cheap. So that's underthecrossbones.com/support. And if you want the show notes for this show, it is underthecrossbones.com/016. It's always / whatever the episode number is, so that's easy to figure out. All right, we are going to get into some comedy now. I was working with this guy, Mike Brody, at Goonies Comedy Club over the weekend. We had a really great time. I've worked with Mike before. He's a great guy. And so I'm going to play you some comedy from Mike Brody, and you can all his website and everything will be linked up on the show notes, so make sure that you go. I believe it's MikeBrody.com or MikeBrodyComedian.com. It's one of those two. I should have looked it up before I did this recording, but I'm unprepared sometimes. And then we are going to hear some music from Rome Bauer, and Rome spells his name all weird. It's Rome, R-O-E-M, and I'm actually going to look this up. And his last name is B-A-U-R. So his first name, Rome, R-O-E-M, and last name, Bauer, B-A-U-R. Rome needs to learn how to spell his name. But his his website is rome.tv, and you can find him on Facebook. And all that's going to be linked up on the show notes. So just come to underthecrossbones.com/016, and you'll get all the links to Rome, Bauer, and Mike Brody, and the Whydah Project, and Chris Macort, and I don't know, Jay's Beef, and other stuff that I talked about. So here we go. Here's some comedy from Mike Brody, followed by a song from Rome Bauer.
I used to work at an elementary school, and I don't recognize anybody. It wasn't your kids. Don't worry. I had a cell phone that when you'd sit on it, no matter if you locked it or whatever, it would butt dial. You know what I mean? It was in your jeans. You don't want a butt-dialing phone when you work with little kids. I took them to Valley Fair, the amusement park in the Twin Cities. I wanted to go on the log flume, because that's my favorite ride, the water ride. Right? They didn't want to do it, so I had to talk them into it. So I sit in the log flume. My phone butt-dials my parents and leaves a 10-minute message on their answering machine. And this is what you hear. You hear a bunch of kids talking in the back, and then you hear me going, "Come on, just get in." Just get it. I promise you're just going to get a little wet. Well, I'll buy you ice cream. Just get in here. And then you hear 5 minutes of kids screaming. And I go, see, that wasn't that bad. Who wants Dippin' Dots? Let's go. Parents didn't return my calls for a while.
Would sing. Every note I try to swallow, in my gut I feel the sting. Told you that I hate you in every single way. Wrote it in a letter that I never meant to save. Sent it to my mother, took it to the bank. Doesn't know the value, but the currency is pain. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So I started drinking to call me in a dirt, filled with the spirit. Now I can't feel the hurt. Looking for a remedy, a guilty line of word. Oh dear, what you gonna do? Oh dear, what am I gonna do? Oh dear, what you gonna do? Oh dear, what am I gonna do? Now happy ending, optimistic final verse. To get the ladies by my critically inflamed curse. I keep telling myself, be honest in the death end and rehearse. Happy endings, love the morning, find the sun, and for what it's worth. Oh dear, what you gonna do? Oh dear, what am I gonna do? Oh dear, what you gonna do? Oh dear, what am I gonna do? Oh dear, what you gonna do? Oh dear, what am I gonna do? Oh dear, what you gonna do? Oh dear, what am I gonna do? Oh dear, what you gonna do? Oh dear, what am I gonna do? Oh dear, oh dear.
And that's it. That's our show for today, friends. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you keep telling your friends. Make sure to hit that support page and click on the Amazon banner and all that kind of stuff. Next week, more great interviews, more great comedy, more of me yapping endlessly. So please stay subscribed, and I will see you next week on Under the Crossbones. Bye-bye.